This is Zach, one of the performers tonight at SFX. How was your performance tonight?
I was very happy. I thought it sounded superb.
Yeah? How long you been performing?
I started performing about 6 years ago, and so I've released 2 solo albums, and I'm working on a 3rd solo record now, and I also have a new project that will be similar to my solo stuff, like weird electro pop, and Katie and Akiha, who were in my live band for my solo project, will be a part of this, but this will be more like a band. It's going to be called Le Chiffre, and that's going to be Katie, Akiha, myself, a guy named Brian Smith doing the programming and the production stuff, and so we got that going, and then ZAS, which is my solo project, because my name is Zachery Allan Starkey, so it's my initials. Yeah, so anyway, I started doing solo stuff about 6 years ago, and one more solo record in the can coming out in early 2013, and then it's moving on to Le Chiffre.
What type of sound? What type of sound would you describe yourself?
I think it's a mix. It's a mix of kind of like, I say it's like electro punk is what I call it. It's definitely electronic and with like, you know, pop hooks, but also some darkness and some roughness, some noise in the synthesizers and whatnot. I like to use synthesizers and keyboards as lead guitars, so we have that element in there. And then when it comes to singing, I'm no crooner, but I think, you know, my biggest influences are like New Order, Public Image Limited, and the Sex Pistols. So it's kind of a mix of like, you know, kind of 80s post-punk, 70s punk, with like maybe some Yellow Magic Orchestra thrown in there.
And
some Neil Young thrown in there.
How would you describe your sound? Like, have you been ever compared to any other artists?
We've been compared to, you know, I try to stay away from like, I think when you listen to us, you'll hear elements of what I like. So I think we listen to us, you hear elements of like New Order, of Public Image, of the Pet Shop Boys. And in terms of like how people in the crowd describe us, they, you know, I've heard everything from like the Swans, like Swans mutated into New Order, mutated into the Pixies, which I don't even listen to the Pixies, so whatever. But yeah, I definitely think, you know, we usually get like just kind of post-punk and electronic comparisons. One time somebody said we sounded like a punk Giorgio Moroder and a punk Neil Young and an electronic Neil Young, which I took as majorly compliments.
That's an awesome compliment.
Yeah, I'm a big Neil Young. I'm a big Neil Young fan. I consider myself, when I play my keyboard leads, my synthesizer leads, it's like what Neil Young does on the guitar when he plays his guitar solos. I kind of do that with my keyboard, with my synthesizer solos. And also, I'm not a traditionally, you know, no one would say I was a traditionally good singer, but I have a voice that sounds like me. And so, you know, when I was listening to music growing up, it was people like John Lydon from Public Image and Bernard Sumner from New Order, David Byrne from the Talking Heads, and like Neil Young, singers who don't have traditionally good voices but have a lot of personality and their voice. So I'm just myself, and I put effort. I try to write good lyrics, you know, and I try to write good songs that stand on their own. I write all my songs on a piano to make sure that the songs themselves are good before I add electronics to them.
What's your favorite Neil Young song?
I probably would have to be maybe Don't Let It Bring You Down, which is off After the Gold Rush. Also, After the Gold Rush, one of my favorite Neil Young songs. Like a Hurricane, Down by the River. I like his new record, Psychedelic Pill, a lot. I mean, he does a great cover of On Broadway. I could talk about Neil Young for a really long time. He's one of my... Neil Young even did an electronic album called Trans in the early 80s. It's so weird, you have to hear it. It's like Neil Young meets Kraftwerk. And there's a song on it called Sample and Hold that I really like.
Nice.
Yeah.
How's your... what's your process in writing a song?
So usually the way it starts is I write the lyrics independently. I carry a notebook with me. So usually a lyric idea starts to form in my head, either from personal experience, But a lot of my lyrics also are written about what I see going on around me. Do you know what I mean? They're social observations. Because a lot of my songs are kind of satirical, like song like cocaine and no texting on the dance floor. They're satirical songs about just kind of behavior I see in nightlife and nightclubs. Not judging, but it's kind of human beings are funny creatures, and that's what I write about. I also write more personal songs, so generally I write the lyrics first, and then I compose the music separately, and then, so say I'll sit down and over a period of a couple of months I'll write 3 or 4 or 5 songs, just the music. Then I'll find a lyric that I've written that fits that piece of music. And for instance, I wrote a song 2 years ago on the piano, and I've never recorded it because it's a I'm very proud of it. I think it's one of the best pieces of music I've ever written. I've never recorded it because I never had a lyric that I thought matched it. But finally, a couple of months ago, the lyric came to me as about the death of my grandfather, who was killed when I was 14 by a drunk driver. So, it took me a long time to come to terms with that, even as an adult. And finally, the lyrics came to me, and I wrote about him. And then I realized they suit that piece of music. So that'll be the first single from my new record I'm working on.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so, I just tried to make the lyrics good,
How was your, what was your experience like the first time you ever performed live?
The first time I ever performed live was in Columbus, Ohio, which is where I grew up, and it was at a punk club called Bernie's, which is in Columbus is a famous punk rock bar. It's like Bernie's, I'm sorry, there's an ambulance going by. Bernie's is to Columbus what CBGB's was to New York. It's a filthy dive bar in a basement, but it's a great bar. And I played my first show there, and it was loud. We turned our keyboards and our sequencers up way too loud, and I couldn't hear myself, and I hadn't quite learned how to sing yet. And the song Nuclear Star, which we play Nuclear Star tonight. It's one of the first songs I wrote, and back in those days it's 5 minutes long now, but back in those days it was 11 minutes long. So it was loud and noisy, but people really applauded, and so it felt good. And then I played a lot in Columbus, Cleveland, and Chicago quite a bit, and then I moved to New York. And I thought when I moved to New York is such a tough town. I thought maybe I'll never play here. But eventually a promoter offered me a gig, and so I did that gig with my friend Alice in Wonderland and my friend Cindy Ho played with me, and that gig went down really, really well. As a matter of fact, that gig was here at our bar. That was my first show in New York a couple of years ago, and it went down so well we started getting more and more offers from promoters to play. And eventually my friend Cindy's a graphic designer, so she had to go do that, so my friend Katie Jankowski, aka White Chocolate, joined. And and then over the past year and a half, it just spiraled in. We're playing 2 or 3 shows a month all over the city, different promoters, and different people come to see us. And it really surprised me because I never thought anything I did or who I am, I never thought would stick out or catch anyone's attention in New York City. There's so much going on here. So I was very humbled that people wanted us to play, and very, very humbled that people come to see us. I'm still humbled that people come to see us, and it's really, now we have Akiha in the band, who is Akiha Urayu, who is has released some really good albums in Tokyo, and it's playing with us now. And we have Lushifra, my new project, coming up, and it's just cool. It's really, I'm very humbled that talented people think the songs I write are good enough to play, and I'm humbled that promoters ask us to play. I'm humbled that people come to see us play. Every time somebody here in New York says they like what we're doing, I'm humbled.
So you get a good crowd response?
Yeah, generally. I don't think we've ever really played a bad gig. Certainly some gigs are better than others, but generally all of our gigs have been pretty good. Which is, I used to not think I was a very good live performer, to be honest with you. I didn't move much, and I don't think my voice was very good. But in the past year and a half, playing here in New York all the time, and just the support we've gotten from our friends, people come to see us, has given me a lot of confidence as a performer, and given me confidence to write new songs and sing. And I think we're a good live act now. 3 or 4 years ago, and before I came to New York City, I don't know if I would have said that we were a good live. I used to think that the recordings were better than the live show, but now I think the live show is better than the recordings. That's why I need to make new recordings.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. It's an ongoing process, you know?
Alright, Zach, one last question.
Yes.
What are you gonna do for the end of the world on December 21st?
Well, you know what I'm gonna do on the end of the world? I just want to be having sex, and
Good answer.
when my partner and I hope we reach our orgasms together as the world ends, and go out with a big bang. I mean, what could be better than that? I mean, if the world ends, I'm gonna die fucking.
Can you give a shout out to SFX?
SOX?
SFX?
SFX? Absolutely. I personally, Zachery Allan Starkey, on behalf of ZAS and my bandmates in ZAS, would like to thank Dimitra and BJ, let me start that again. Zachery Allan Starkey of ZAS, on behalf of ZAS and my bandmates, would like to thank Dimitra and BJ Wet Circuit and SFX for having us play. Our bar is one of my favorite places to play in New York City. The sound here is always fantastic, and the people at SFX, this is an incredible party, and it was a real pleasure. The crowd is great, the lights are great, you know, Wet Circuit's lights are fantastic, and Dimitra really put her heart into promoting the party and getting people to come out. We play in front of a lot of new faces tonight, so I'm grateful for that, and we definitely look forward to playing SFX again. Oh, and you know, one last also thanks to Dimitra and SFX for putting us on a bill with great bands like Radio Music, I Am Eve, The Mystic Underground, Hustle Club. You know, I mean, these are great bands who do great things here in New York, and it's just a pleasure to be a part of it. It's an honor to be a part of it.
Awesome, Zach. Thank you very much for